Hello, JCN here, bringing you another gameplay news and stuff video. Hi, I hope you're all doing well. I firstly want to thank all of my new subscribers. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel and for all of the comments that you have been leaving. Thank you for taking the time to do that, very much appreciated. So the objective of this video is to give you some in-game action of the magnificent and phenomenal Assassin's Creed Odyssey in action. If you aren't acquainted with this game, or you've heard about it but sitting on the fence about it, then firstly, by all means, check out my review on the channel, and secondly, if you like role-playing games, especially large MMO type RPGs, then I'm sure you're going to absolutely fall in love with this game. I think it's one of the most aesthetically beautiful games I've ever played. It speaks for itself. So I just want to apologize for the sound quality in the video. I'm using a headset mic, not my normal mic that I use for recording, but I'll try and bring that up. And so what I'm doing here is I'm exploring this area of a huge map. This is Delos. Excuse all the pronunciations here. And the map is absolutely massive and extensive, just as it is in Ghost Recon Wildlands. The whole of Greece and the Grecian islands, basically. No loading screens between any of the regions. Loading screens only come into prominence, or they only come into play when you're doing things like fast travel. So you can, like as in other Assassin's Creed games, you can fast travel between the synchronization points. So what I'm doing here is I'm just exploring this area. I'm actually on another quest, but on the way I've come to this island and I'm going to explore it, which is one of the things I like to do. So I'm playing Cassandra, two playable characters. You could play either as Cassandra or her brother Alexius. I prefer to play as Cassandra, but both of the options don't particularly affect the overarching main story, but they do affect it in certain ways, and in terms of dialogue, delivery, etc. Both the actor and the actress do extremely good jobs in that, and it looks like, although I could be wrong, okay, I thought it might be a tomb, but it isn't. It's a cave. Let's see what's going on here. Let's have a look. I have got an ability that allows me to scan ahead. Those enemies at the moment. So you get to see lots and lots of areas like this in the world, which you can just go and explore. Like these caves full of resources and things. They can be full of anything. They can be full of enemies. They can be full of traps. Hidden areas. So we'll just have a gander around here. So the news, right? E3 is now over and done with. I was particularly interested in Ubisoft and Bethesda's presentations. I wanted to see what those two companies had to announce. I thought Ubisoft's presentation overall was pretty good, actually. Some people thought it was disappointing. I didn't think it was disappointing at all. Really looking forward to Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Looking great. One of the highlights for me is it's got the actor from the Marvel Netflix Punisher series in it. But I was dismayed to hear that Netflix have now decided they're not going to continue with the Marvel series and have sold those rights over, or passed those rights over to Disney, who already own some properties with Marvel. It's disappointing to me in that there are two problems with that. The first is that Disney have said they don't want to use any of the actors or the creative teams that were involved in the Netflix series, such as Jessica Jones, The Punisher, Daredevil, etc., which I think is a bloody mistake, because actors and actresses who can, how can I put it, have some time with a particular character or role will help develop that role and flesh it out from its initial you know, its initial stage, if you know what I mean. So as they get more familiar with the role and the team they're working with and everything, as the series progresses, the characters get stronger and the performances as a result reflect that. But no, they're not going to do that, so I was really disappointed. And the other disappointing bit about that is, with this deal, Netflix still hold on to the rights to stream those properties. So we're talking about Jessica Jones, Punisher, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, all of that stuff, for 2 years. So Disney can't even do anything with any of these properties for 2 years. So we're not going to see anything new for 2 years. There is a third and final season of Jessica Jones coming. And the actress, I think it's Christina Ricci or something like that. I can't remember who it is. It's probably the wrong actress completely, and I apologise. So she's happy with the conclusion, but I get a feeling of, you know, a sense of sadness there from her, because I know from seeing some interviews with her about that, with reference to that series, that she really enjoyed it, and I thought she did an incredible job, or has done an incredible job. So disappointing all round there. Anyway, back to E3. And so Ghost Recon Breakpoint is going to be something I will be playing and reviewing on this channel in due course. The Division 2, for me at the moment, a little bit of a stagnant and stale place, as the raid stupidly is not matchmaking. A really big mistake by Ubisoft and the team there. I don't know why they've decided to do that. And at the moment, although it is going to be corrected, so I want to precursor what I'm going to say by saying this is all going to be corrected. Ubisoft are aware of this, the loot situation as they call it, and what they're going to do is they're going to address that through other activities. So at the moment, players who've got to item level 500, like myself, can get items that are higher than item level 500, but it is a complete palaver. It isn't so easy. It's definitely not guaranteed. The drops are very rare. And overall, it's just too much effort at the moment for the majority of players. And considering they can't get involved, the majority of players can't get involved in the raid because of this ludicrous, cliquey rubbish that was going on with World of Warcraft. And World of Warcraft, even though they introduced looking for raid, have paid for it immensely. And the reason that World of Warcraft has paid for it immensely is looking for raid didn't have the same, anywhere near the same quality of items and weapons that you could get from the other raids that were not matchmaking. And again, the majority of players, even though people don't think this, the majority of players who play MMOs or light MMOs like the Division 2 are solo players. Many players, well, certainly the average age of gamers in general is over 30. It's around 35. That surprises a lot of people. But it shouldn't, considering that, you know, the evolution of gaming like comic has been going on for decades now, and that audience has grown up. And many of them just simply do not have as much time to play games. So they are looking to enjoy their games, get the most out of it in the quality, you know, the amount of space they can dedicate it to it. They've got other commitments like jobs, family, etc. Whatever it is, and you know, if the designers are not keeping that in mind and excluding them, you know, they're not going, people like myself are not prepared. They might have done when they were younger, but we're not prepared anymore to spend 5 hours, 6 hours forming a group with people we don't really know and then spending another 5 or 6 hours trying to accomplish something in a game. It's just not worth the effort all the time. And, you know, they need to sharpen up on that. World of Warcraft then paid for it. Final Fantasy XIV, which I'll talk about in a minute, hasn't paid for it, and I'll go on about that in a bit. But I just want to say that about the Division 2. It is going to be changed, though. So those items will become more accessible. And the first of the new major content is dropping in very soon, probably by the end of July, if not the middle of it. And I will be reviewing that on the channel as well. So watch out for that. Bethesda, I would want to say Bethesda, surprised me though, because I don't really think they had anything to show, considering that all of the major projects like Skyrim and Starfield are for the next generation, which is another 2 years away. But Doom Eternal is looking great. I think that's going to appease a lot of people who like Doom and FPS players in general. It's looking really good. Good stuff. They had some other good announcements there. Fallout 76, well, if you want to know my thoughts on Fallout 76, check the review out on the channel. But I will be reviewing the major expansion in autumn, dealing with the introduction of NPCs in it when it comes out. And also be checking on the overall state of the game. Oh, there it is. And so that's to come as well. Square Enix had a pretty good presentation. We knew Final Fantasy VII was going to be one of the big major announcements. It wasn't a surprise by any means, but it's close to launch now. I can't remember when it's coming out. Yeah, so it looks spectacular. Whether or not it'll actually retain the essence of the original, well, that's neither really here or there, actually, because the original is the original, and the original. Well, the whole point is it's not the bloody original. It's a remake. So to do from now. Go back to here, and if they don't like the remake, they can always play the original. It's not being touched or anything. So, but more interesting than that was Final Fantasy XIV news with a new major expansion coming out, and when that drops, I will review Final Fantasy XIV and the subsequent expansions to that game. It's a gorgeous MMO, it really is, and it's no wonder it is the world's #1 MMO with over 16 million subscribers. And as linking back to what I said about World of Warcraft, one of the principal reasons is that in Final Fantasy XIV, everything is matchmaking. Everything. It doesn't matter about the difficulty of the raids or anything. That doesn't exclude the group structure of guilds or the alternative in Final Fantasy XIV. I can't quite remember what they're called now. Guilds can form groups and go in as parties, but it doesn't exclude solo players. And that seems to be an overall ethos with Square Enix in terms of that MMO, which is we are not going to exclude players from content. They can just matchmake and everybody gets a crack at the whip. And veteran players can help out novice players, and it just works. And all of these arguments about, oh no, you need people dedicated, you need communication between players. Well, you can have communication or not, non-communication. You don't always need vocal communication. Non-verbal communication works in games because people go, you can see what other people are doing and either mimic them or figure it out. People aren't always that dumb. You can't just, presuppose everybody's going to be completely dumb. Sometimes you get somebody who just doesn't get it. Well, fine. But at the end of the day, it's a game, and it's not supposed to be an exclusive thing. Being exclusive in gaming is not a good thing for the hobby and the industry in a whole. We don't want that. We don't want excluding people. And, what I was saying earlier on about people not having enough time, this whole argument about hardcore and casual players is just so unfounded and ridiculous. Because you can have the best, wonderfully great players who might not be able to dedicate as much time to a game because they've got other commitments, like a job, like real life, for instance. And just because they're not sinking hundreds of hours into a game like, say, the Division 2 and only going in when they can, doing as much as they can, doesn't mean they're a bad player. Doesn't mean they're a casual player either. It's just nonsense. This whole terminology is just ridiculous, and you have to look beyond that. And it's also another excuse for people who want to be in cliquey, exclusive groups, getting all the best loot so they can brag about it and be above everybody else. We're not interested. Most players are just not interested in that nonsense. It's a game. At the end of the day, it's a game. Effort or gameplay or whatever it is, they should get the rewards, and there should be no exclusivity about it. And it's just ridiculous that we've allowed it to persist so long. And luckily, companies like Ubisoft and Square Enix realise this, and they go out of their way to address that balance. So kudos to them, and long may they continue to do that. And I think at that point I have pretty much said everything I want to say. Thank you again for watching and listening. Stay tuned for more great reviews. I say great, it's up to you whether you decide if they are or not, coming to the channel. But for now, take care.